So officially, welcome to our Increasing Wellbeing Through Peer Supports event today. Oh, slides, there we go. Um, there we go. My name is Becky Reich. I am the Director of Quality Youth Worker Wellbeing Project. We also have on the call today Cassie Wade, our Vice President of Youth Worker Wellbeing. You'll hear from her in a little bit. And we have team members Michelle and Megan supporting behind the scenes and helping the magic happen. So we're all here on board. And then of course we have our amazing team from Hope Haven, who you're also going to hear from here in just a little bit. So today's agenda looks like this. A quick welcome. We're going to go overview of the Youth Worker Wellbeing Project. We'll talk about peer supports groups as a model. We're going to then talk about specifically the Youth Worker Wellbeing Project peer support services. You meet the Hope Haven team that's delivering those services. You'll get to experience a sample peer support group. And then we're going to wrap up with a closing discussion. So quick overview for those of you that might not already be familiar with the full project. We want to make sure you can tap in all ways. So the Youth Worker Wellbeing Project is a collaborative statewide effort that really looks at addressing, as the name might give you hint to, youth worker well-being for youth workers in the state of Indiana, looking at workplace conditions, stress, vicarious trauma, equity in the workplace, and just an effort to continue to support youth workers and the organizations they're in. We have organizational level services and individual. The organizational services look like access to virtual health services, including telemed and mental health services for youth workers for eligible organizations. In addition to that, we have grant funding opportunities that look to increase efforts around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and trauma-informed workplace efforts to, again, support workplace change that then supports those youth workers. We have individual services such as the Emerging Leaders of Color Fellowship, which looks to diversify leadership and address disparity gaps within compared to frontline youth workers, compared to leadership positions across the state. And then, of course, the reason you're here today are peer support groups, which provide opportunities for youth workers and leaders to share experiences and support one another in a peer support format.
Wonderful. I'm taking over. As Becky said, my name is Cassie Wade. I am the Vice President of Youth Worker Wellbeing here with Indiana Youth Institute. So our managing committee partners at Indiana After School Network, IARCA Institute for Excellence, Indiana Youth Institute, Marion County Commission on Youth, and Indiana Youth Services Association spent more than a year talking to youth workers across the state about their challenges, about strengths, and about opportunities. And access to mental health care was identified as a top concern. Youth workers across the state reported that they frequently didn't have the time, they didn't have the space to debrief their workplace challenges. And I don't have to tell you that the work, youth work, it can be tough. It can be challenging. It can be triggering. It also can be extremely fulfilling. And when deciding on how to support youth workers with some of those challenges, the managing committee selected peer supports as a model. So it selected peer supports as one of those programs to be able to support mental health care. And so why? Why did we select peer supports as a model? Well, one, peer supports provides emotional supports. So it's a safe place for youth workers to share their feelings, their struggles, their experiences. It's also an opportunity to hear from others who have been through similar situations. And then that reduces feelings of isolation and helps provide comfort. Youth workers can benefit from knowing that others have experienced similar challenges, and it builds empathy. So knowing that we're not alone in this. And it also then builds empathy and understanding among group members, which can sometimes be more powerful advice, right? It's more powerful advice from someone who's experienced than those who haven't experienced similar struggles. And then peer support can empower youth workers to take charge of situations and make positive changes in someone's life. Hearing stories of resilience and success from peers can inspire us to believe in our own ability to overcome challenges. So think of the saying, yes, we can, si se puede. So I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I know that. So si se puede, yes, we can, right? There's value in hearing that from other peers. And then have you ever gotten terrible advice from your partner or friend that works in a completely different industry that just doesn't get it? They're like, just quit, just quit. Youth workers, right? Your peers are going to share practical advice, tips, and coping strategies. So there's value of receiving this information from a peer. Becky, go ahead and switch slides. Peer supports also create a sense of community and belonging, which is also extremely helpful when we feel isolated. So, youth workers shared that a lot of times in our work, we feel alone. So, creating this sense of community, creating this sense of belonging is extremely helpful in our work. Bringing people together, we're also normalizing our struggle, which is reduces stigma, right? So when I think about mental health challenges and the first thing, how do you reduce the stigma? You talk about it. You talk about it openly. We are creating open conversations about challenges that we're all facing as youth workers, challenges that we're all facing as humans doing this life together. And then by hosting regular meetings, we're also encouraging you to stay committed to your personal goals, whatever that is. So, peers, along with Hope Haven staff, can provide encouragement and can provide accountability in a different way that can be this motivating factor to maintain progress. I know when my peer, or let's say my friend or my colleague, can motivate me and hold me accountable in a different way than my supervisor, than my partner, than my sister, than my mom, right? Peers provide that different level of also accountability. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Becky to talk to you about our peer support group program.
Perfect. Thanks, Cassie. So specifically youth worker well-beings projects, peer support groups, right? Based on what Cassie has said, right? We're implementing. And again, the goal is this, right? Time and opportunity to debrief challenging experiences, right? In real time. You'll find there's 6 opportunities a week. Supportive, culturally responsive, safe environment. That you can come into even outside of your direct colleagues, right? You might need to talk to someone from somewhere else and debrief and get different ideas and make those connections. And then support vicarious and firsthand trauma that's being experienced as you're serving those young people. I'm now going to turn it over to the stars of the show, our amazing partners at Hope Haven Psychological Resource.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Hello, everyone. What you see here is just a little bit of information about Hope Haven's role within the peer support group. And it just shares a little bit too about the organization. And we were established in 2010. So just a few little tidbits there. I wanted to give a little bit of information about some of the structure of the peer support groups, so that you have awareness, and as you're sharing information about the peer support groups, that you can also share with others what they would be getting into and what they could expect to experience if they decide to log in or register for the process. So most of the groups, we typically begin with a very set introduction, and that introduction really incorporates our welcome to the process and our group structure. During the group experience today, we'll share that actual introduction with you all, so you'll get a chance to actually hear how we introduce each group. And so we share that at the beginning, and then following that introduction, we welcome everyone to use the space. Some of the groups are themed groups, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. The groups that I am a part of, I lead the group on Friday morning at 10:30. That's an emotional wellness group, and we talk about emotions and how emotions impact us. For the month of November, we'll be exploring professional gratitude, grievance, guilt, and grief within the month of November. And then one of our other team members, she's presently on maternity leave, and I'll be facilitating her group as well. And that group is on Thursday mornings, Eastern Standard Time at 9 a.m. After that intro, we do like to share that participants can come in at any time. You're not required to stay for the whole time. If you need to leave early, then that's okay. That happens for some. We do stay on the call for 20 minutes. If no one enters the call, the group does end at that time. But know that outside of Sunday, there's another group to follow that group the next day. But if you do happen to join the group after 20 minutes following when the group starts, then, and if no one is in attendance, there is a possibility that the group may have ended for that day. Attendees are not required to show their faces. You can use the camera or not use a camera if that's your preference. So we don't require participants to share their physical face unless they want to. We also do not require for participants to share the organization that they're affiliated with. Participants are welcome to share that information if they want, but we hold that in confidence, and we honor that if someone wants to be on the call and they don't want to share what entity or organization they're connected to or a part of, that's fine. And you do not have to put that information into the space. We end each group with an outro, so to speak. We talk about and share the schedule for the group for the week. And then we welcome participants to complete a poll at the end of the group experience. Those polls are very helpful for us with making sure we're delivering quality care, that we're providing youth workers across the state of Indiana with the service that they shared that they wanted. We're always looking to grow, develop, and improve. And so those polls really help us to be able to do that. We know that for a lot of us working within this field, that there can be that experience of suffering in silence. And so my goal in facilitating the group process is to hopefully mitigate and reduce some of that. We know that within this field, we come with a passion to help, but sometimes that passion can lead us to feeling overwhelmed, burned out, exhausted, depleted because of the passion that we have and all of the energy that we use to feel others within our community. And so my goal within that facilitation process is to keep that at the forefront of my mind and to help support youth workers with knowing that you do not have to suffer in silence, that there is a space to open and share what is happening for you in these moments when you are in the field doing all that you can to help support the young people of our communities. So I will turn now to Dr. Love, who is one of our facilitators for the group process.
All right, hello, I am Dr. Letitia Love. And I'm just going to share a bit about my experience working as a facilitator, and then also to give you all a little bit more information about what to expect, right? So it says peer support group, but this is not a therapy group, right? But there is, in some ways, a therapeutic component in that you're coming to this space to work out your challenges, right? But it's unique because you are doing it along with your peers, right? So it's not a situation where you're laying on your couch and we're talking about your deep-seated secrets. No, we are just helping you feel confident, comfortable, and ready to go back to work the next day, right? The goal is for you to be poured into. Um, and also, it's not a bleak experience, right? We're not just talking about the hardships necessarily, right? You are able to walk away feeling inspired, like some of the other presenters have shared. And you're finding tools, right, and resources to support you in your vision as you work with the youth. So there's various themes, right, that we've helped to facilitate through. So burnout's been a pretty big one. Sometimes there are people who have just entered into the field, right? So they're not sure about how to approach it, what to expect, that type of thing. But the other peers that may have joined that week, they're experts. They've been there for years, right? So that's the uniqueness of the group. You're able to, pick the brain of people who've been where you want to be or are where you are now. Some other things in terms of areas of discussion. Like I said, there's been burnout. There's been this desire for maybe greater support within the agencies, maybe not feeling heard and understood in terms of your own personal challenges. So it's a gamut of things, right? So again, it's not this bleak situation where we're just constantly talking about hardships, but the goal is for you to be inspired. And in my role as facilitator, that is my goal, right? I hope that you're able to take something away every time that you come, whether it's one person, whether it's two people, whether it's five people. The goal is for you to feel like that hour that you spent with us was worth it, right? My approach is to help you understand and myself understand what the challenge is, and then also determining what resources are available to you within the community, maybe within your agency, and then help the other participants that are there, help you all support each other by hopefully answering and asking the right questions. As far as the type of groups that I facilitate, so on Tuesdays at 7 p.m., that's just the general peer support group. So anybody can join that one. And then on Wednesdays at 12, that is the supervisor manager one. So that's specifically for people who are in supervisor or managers roles. And the goal in that is some supervisors may feel uncomfortable, maybe wanting to share their concerns if a participant who they supervise is attend. So that's why that one was created. And then on Mondays at 12:30, I am stepping in to facilitate the diversity group. So that one is not just about necessarily talking about, what you should know about diversity, but if there's someone who's from a diverse community who needs support in their journey, or maybe you just want to know more. Maybe you feel like you're not really as informed as you may need to be, or there's things that you want to learn about how you can be an advocate, an ally, those types of things. That's a pretty open group, but the main goal there is to support through diversity challenges and issues. Okay. And then I guess now I would turn it over to our other person, Fabrice.
Thank you so much. So, yeah, my name is Fabrice Nzana, and I'm glad to be facilitating these groups as well. So, I'm going to share briefly about my experience doing this work. So, typically, I welcome the participants. Sometimes, it could be one person. At times, it could be a couple of people. And generally, I welcome them and we go over the ground rules, what to expect, to make sure that the meeting will be running smoothly. And I also introduce an icebreaker. It's not the same every meeting, but it just helps people kind of loosen up, relax a little bit, get comfortable with the process and to know each other. So this I find that is really beneficial to actually introduce the group in that way. And that's what we do, not just me. I just want to make sure that I clarified that. So after that, we open up discussion. People begin to open up about what's going on. The way I listen to um, what people discuss is I see what they're bringing up personally, their own personal challenges within the workplace or working with the population they serve, and also through the lens of their interaction with the systems, right? It could be their own organization, their own employer, and higher systems. And so that's important because we try to really differentiate what is clinical, what personal concerns like Dr. Love was talking about, and just systemic challenges, difficulties that we can help support. Um, so that's an important distinction. So in groups where we have more than one persons, people tend to connect. They have similar experiences and they know similar entities and it's usually it runs organically. Um, if that is not the case, having worked with challenging teenagers in Virginia at the only state-operated psychiatric hospital for teenagers and adolescents and children, I can, share some of my experiences. I can self-disclose when it's appropriate and kind of explain and talk about how we have done things in the past. Just like Dr. Love shared, we see a lot of burnout concerns, um, empathy fatigue, things of that nature. And so we have resources, we provide resources when needed so that if they have a need that's beyond what we can offer, they can be referred. Um, And so finally, I know at times I think it happened one time. Some supervisor came from, I can't remember the agency, but they came to see how things are done so that they could talk to their staff from firsthand experience and encourage them to attend. So at the end of the group, I allowed them to ask questions. And to share final remarks. Generally, the reports are positive. People feel relieved. People feel supported. They feel heard and more equipped. And finally, I offer groups, more general groups. I don't have a specific focus, and it depends on what comes up during the meetings. So my meetings are at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. And I would invite people if there are people in the audience that are willing to join, just show up to a place where you are welcome. Thank you.
The perfect closing right there. Just show up to a place where you're welcome. That's fantastic. You'll get a copy of these slides so that you can learn more about Ms. Thompson, who is enjoying maternity leave, and Dr. Johnson, who didn't talk much about herself, but we'll share that with you as well. That is not surprising. Always amazing. Okay, so let's see. Okay. So we want to share, some testimonials with you. I'm not going to read these. What I will say is this, we've done over 200 sessions of peer support groups to date. So we've got some experience under our belts. We have amazing facilitators, as you've met today. What we do hear back from youth workers that attend is that 100% of them, so every single person that comes through, tells us that they feel like their stress has been reduced from attending a group. Which is one of the main underlying goals. So we know they're working. We'd love to see more folks tap in to those opportunities, which is why we're doing this today. Just kind of we know that maybe people don't quite understand, right, what they're going to get and what it's going to feel like. And I'm the type of person too, I want to know what I'm getting when I show up somewhere. So that's what we're here to do today. Put faces with names, learn a little bit more, and do a practice session. These were mentioned already, but I'll pull up. This is the list of the sessions, and we'll send this as follow-up. So please don't feel like you got to scramble to write these down. We will make it as easy, I promise, for you to register for these as possible. So logistics-wise, you can just go on our website, youthworkerwellbeing.org. These are all listed there. You can register for them. You can sign up for the series of them. If you know you want to come every Tuesday, right? Then you can do that. You can do your calendar pieces, and all of that stuff is all right there for you. I want to get to the good part. So we are going to launch into an experience. So we are going to split everybody up. Stay with us. This is not your exit time for the event. So what we're going to do is launch breakout rooms with each of our amazing Hope Haven team members. I do want to just draw attention to a couple things that are different than what maybe the typical experience would be. Of course, this is shorter. Our typical sessions are 45 minutes. These may be smaller or bigger depending. Any given session is very unique because individual, unique humans show up to any different session, right? So you could come one Tuesday and talk about something. You come the next Tuesday and it's different people, and you talk about different things. And that's really the goal because it's real time support, right? So every session is unique every time. And again, these will run just a little bit different based on the format of what we're trying to do today. As Dr. Johnson mentioned, right, we do track attendance, but we don't share that, right? We're not going to tell employers or broadcast who's showing up to these pieces. We track it from a grant funded project standpoint, right? We need to know how many people are coming in, who are we serving. Other than that, you are safe to come in with as much confidentiality as possible, right, in that space where it's safe. So